जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिकराचार्य अष्टोरशत श्री श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। इसकॉन फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिकराचार्य अष्टोरशत श्रीमती भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी महाराज की। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one shall offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, and unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Naspraiswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and love in service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, text number 6. Nirodho asyuna sayanam Atmana sahasaktibi Muktir ivanyata rupam Swarupena vyavastiti Nirodho asyuna sayanam Atmana sahasaktibi Muktir itvanyanta rupam Swarupena vyavastiti Nirodhasyuna sayanam Atmana sahasaktibi Muktir ivanyata rupam Swarupena vyavastiti. Please recite. Nirodhasyuna sayanam Vasaktibi Pam Vyastiti Nirodhasyuna sayana Pam Vaishnavis Matajis. Bhakti Pam Yastati Nirodhasyuna sayanam Atmanasa saktivi Tirayata rupam Nirodha sayanam Atmana sasaktibe muktiritvanta rupam Pranavastiti Nirodhasyuna sayanam Atmana saktibe Muktirvanyata rupam Varupena Vyastiti. Word to word meaning? Nirodha, the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Asya, of his. Anusayanam, the lying down of the Purusha incarnation Mahavishnu in mystic lumber. Atmana, of the living entities. Saha, along with. Saktibe, with the energies. Mukte, liberation. Hitva, giving up. Anyata, otherwise. Rupam, form. Swarupena, in constitutional form. Vyastiti, permanent situation. Translation and purport by ISKCON founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The merging of the living entity along with this conditioned living tendency with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is a permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross and subtle material bodies. Please repeat after me. The merging of the living entity along with this conditional living tendency with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu is called the winding up of the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is a permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he gives up the changeable, gross and subtle material bodies. Purport. As we have discussed several times, there are two types of living entities. Most of them are ever liberated or nitya muktas, while some of them are ever conditioned. The ever conditioned souls are apt to develop a mentality of lording over the material nature, and therefore the material cosmic creation is manifested to give the ever conditioned souls two kinds of facilities. One facility is that the conditioned soul can act according to his tendency to lord it over the cosmic manifestation, and the other facility gives the conditioned soul a chance to come back to Godhead. So after the winding up of the cosmic manifestation, most of the conditioned souls merge into the existence of the Mahavishnu, personality of Godhead, lying in his mystic slumber, to be created again in the next creation. But some of the conditioned souls who follow the transcendental sound in the form of Vedic literatures and are thus able to go back to Godhead attain spiritual and original bodies after quitting the conditional, gross and subtle material bodies. The material conditional bodies developed out of the living entities' forgetfulness of their relationship with Godhead, and during the course of the cosmic manifestation, the conditioned souls are given a chance to revive their original status of life with the help of revealed scriptures, so mercifully compiled by the Lord in his different incarnations. Reading or hearing of such transcendental literatures helps one become liberated even in the conditional state of material existence. All the Vedic literatures aim at devotional service to the personality of Godhead, and as soon as one is fixed upon this point, he at once becomes liberated from conditional life. So the material, gross and subtle forms are simply due to the conditioned soul's ignorance, and as soon as he is fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes eligible to be freed from the conditioned state. This devotional service is transcendental attraction for the Supreme on account of his being the source of all pleasing humors. Everyone is after some pleasure of humor for enjoyment, but does not know the Supreme source of all attraction. Rasavaisa rasam hi evayam Labdavanant Bhavati. The Vedic hymns inform everyone about the supreme source of all pleasure. The unlimited fountainhead of all pleasure is the personality of Godhead, and one who is fortunate enough to get this information through transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam becomes permanently liberated to occupy his proper place in the kingdom of God. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Gopal Krishna Goswami Tinamine Om Agyanam Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakya Chakshun Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shirve Nama. I was born in the darkness, ignorance of, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Before I start speaking today, I will seek the blessings of all the great, of the senior Vaishnavas here present. Drutakarma Prabhu, Archita Prabhu, Rudra Prabhu, and all the Matajis, Krishna Shakti Mataji, to be able to speak something for the benefit of my own self and for all of us who are embarking on this process of devotional service. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Shloka 43, we have the very important guiding shloka, which says, Krishna sa tamopakate dharma jnanad bisaha kalao nasta drisamesha punarko anodhanodita. This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode. Accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc., persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Bhagavad Purana. So, this chapter, as we know, is entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So that says a lot. That speaks volumes, because it is saying that it answers all questions. So, when I'm reading today's verse, it actually reminds me of something very important. That today, whether we are practicing devotional service or we are outside there trying to fulfill our daily obligations, we are all looking for one very important ingredient. We are all looking for one thing. It's just that the means or the approaches are different. But we are basically looking to be Brahmaputta Prasanatma na sochati na kankshati. We are all trying to be joyful and happy. Is that not true? We all want to be happy and we all want to be joyful. Because that's our constitutional position. However, the approaches are different. And in fact, I was listening to Srila Prabhupada. He said that today's material education and today's so-called schools are actually slaughterhouses. That's a very strong word. Only Srila Prabhupada can use that. Slaughterhouses. What does he mean by that? It's that the present civilization, instead of what the Shastras are telling us, to remove us from the entanglement of repeated birth and death, misery, are actually propagating the science. We want to call that the science because we have the science of devotional service, and then we have the science that we have been taught in our school systems. Is basically propagating the knowledge on how to become more entangled. More entangled. So they are actually slaughterhouses, because what they are doing, they are not giving you prasanna atmana sochati na kankshati. They are actually giving you more anxiety. And so, it gives us the two schools that I look at. One school is that we are accustomed to in the outside world, where we are being entangled, and one school is the school that we are practicing under the Krishna consciousness movement, which is devotional service. And that's the ideology and that's the thinking of the modern world today. If you look at the modern world, everyone is about a career. Everyone is about progressive thinking. However, the means, the final mean or the final solution to become joyful and happy is eluding. Why? Because it is the wrong choice. But this is what is regarded as advancement in today's civilization. Srila Prabhupada really said that is this the modern thinking is about thinking that we are getting civilized because we are building skyscrapers, we are having highways, we are having freeways, but is this real civilization? So, with that being said, it actually also reminds me something very important, that if you look at proprietorship is accepted also in the material world. Either it's under socialism or it's either under capitalism. Under socialism, you work for the government, so there is a proprietor. There is an owner, the owner is the government. And under capitalism, it is all about your own senses, satisfying your own self. So there is proprietorship or ownership. But then devotees know from the Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Surdam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatva Mam Santim Richati. Santim Richati. The Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Yes, there is an owner. But who is the supreme owner? Is the Supreme Lord. And the translation is very well done by, Srila Prabhupada translates it. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So we also accept that there is an owner, but we accept that there is a supreme owner, and we are serving the senses of the Supreme. So we are just dovetailing our consciousness. So this is very critical because, like Nirantara Prabhu was speaking in the class the other day, he says, this is the science of God. Why is it the science? If you look at the dictionary definition of science, it means a systematically organized body of knowledge on a particular subject. Now the Srimad Bhagavatam is 18,000 shlokas. Do you think this is not a systematical study? What is a systematical study? 12 cantos, 18,000 shlokas. Going from canto 1 progressively to 12th canto. That is a science. I don't know if there is any subject that you study so thoroughly, 18,000 shlokas to get a degree. So it's a systematical study. So it's a science. It's the science of knowing your relationship with God. And as we read today from the purport, this is the importance of this human form of life. This human form of life is not meant to work like cats and dogs. Srila Prabhupada said this several times. We are given the higher intelligence. Why are we given this higher intelligence? We are given this higher intelligence. Why? Srila Prabhupada says in his purpose, in essence, man should come to know what the world is, what he is, and what the supreme truth is. To ask these questions. And instead of asking these questions, we are just getting entangled in the so-called materialistic knowledge of chewing the chewed. But this is not what the scripture tells us. And if we look at Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, that is a setting or sets up everything that we are now studying, because it says Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. But what were the questions? So if we read the first chapter, the sages at Naimisaranya are asking the questions. They actually ask how many questions? Does anyone know how many questions are asked by the sages at Naimisaranya to Sutta Goswami? 6 questions are asked. And those 6 questions are what relate to our miseries in this material world, conditioned state. You see, that's why in the purport Srila Prabhupada says there are two types of people, Nitya Muktas or Nitya Siddhas, and then there are the Nitya Baddhas like ourselves, eternally conditioned. So, the sages and Namasaranya asked Sutta Goswami on the basis, what basis did they use when they asked Sutta Goswami the questions? The basis was of proper guidance, and the reason Sutta Goswami was chosen was because he had not only received proper guidance, but also because he had been submissive to his spiritual masters, and thus he had been adored with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. So the qualification is also been explained to us, that we cannot acquire this knowledge by the challenging and by our own endeavors and brain substance. There is a process, and that process is explained by the sages when they chose Sutta Goswami. His qualification was that he was submissive. His qualification was that he had learned it through proper guidance. And then in addition to that, because of that, he had been given the mercy of Guru Kripa by Bhakti Lata Bij. We sing the 8 stanzas every morning of Vishwanath Chakravarti, which basically entail that when you actually please your Guru, by the mercy of the Guru, this knowledge is imparted. And even in the Bhagavatam, it starts with Hridayadi Kavaye, that the knowledge was imparted through the heart because of Brahma accepting and going into tapasya. So, very critical that we understand the questions that were asked. And then it was the secret of success in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purports, the secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and getting his sincere blessings. Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. While in the outside world we do it the opposite way. We are so concerned about me, my family, my possessions, and taking care of this and that, and we neglect the most important thing, Bhaunam Janmanam Ante, Jnanavan Mam Prabhatyat, Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlubha, that we are forgetting that this human form is Bhaunam, is very rare. We are missing the chance. So, Srila Prabhupada in a purport says that automatically when you do spiritual life, material life follows. And I can testify that in my own life. I have always tried as much as possible to follow my Guru and Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. I have no qualifications. But I'm sitting here and I employ 300 people. And I think I am the doer of activities, but I am not. We are not. Krishna takes care of everything automatically. So I can relate to that very clearly in my own life, that we think we have this, we have this, we have this, we have those responsibilities, those. Who are we? Srila Prabhupada had the responsibility of not only starting this movement, but also nurturing, cultivating. Imagine no email and he's writing letters to each and every person. You know, if I try to fathom that, you cannot even catch up or keep up with your emails. Leave alone writing letters. And you are running a whole organization. And then you have infants like us who do not know anything. And then he's translating. Is there anyone who could have been more busier than Srila Prabhupada? And let us see what happened with Srila Prabhupada. Whenever there was a disturbance or there was something that was not working in the movement, like us, we get drained, we need to take some time off, we need to think, we need to strategize. All that Srila Prabhupada did was kirtan, and devotional service. Correct or wrong, Archita Prabhu? All that was engaged was devotional service. Not that, we need to do strategic meetings, we need to do plannings, we need to come up with commissions. How many commissions are there today? You can't even keep up. There are so many commissions. And the findings of these commissions are itself a thesis to study, because they are so thick papers, you don't even know what is the law or what is hidden in it. But look at what we have been taught. When we are in difficulty, who do we resort to? To Shri Krishna, to the Lord. He's the one who places us in this difficulty, and He's the one who's going to release us from this difficulty. So, Srila Prabhupada in his purpose then states that material advancement causes our false ego. So the false ego that we are the doers of everything, that we can do whatever we want, and that without me this world is nothing. We have some people who think like this. It is actually, material advancement is only increasing our false ego. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, also Canto 1, Shloka 10, we have this shloka where it says, Pranalya payusa sabya kalau asmin yuga jana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya uparuta. O learned one, in this age of Kali, man almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So that is our qualification. Yet we are thinking we are advancing. So you can see the school of thought. In fact, when I was coming in the plane just the day before yesterday, I just looked at news, and the first thing was a famous anesthetist at UCLA, because of his ideas about COVID, he was removed from the campus. Because that knowledge is imperfect. So Srila Prabhupada says lazy means lazy in the matter of self-realization. Not lazy that we are lazy in doing certain things, but it's laziness in us taking up the process of self-realization. Because you don't want to know this process. And our prime duty of human life is self-realization. We have read to them the purport that the ones who are already practicing this, the process of devotional service, are on the path of liberation. And then, unfortunate that due to our false ego, Srila Prabhupada says, due to our false ego, the very advancement of material civilization is also leading to our perpetual bondage. Entangled in the web of sense gratificatory diversions. And we know also that in the scriptures it says, Kaler dosa nida rajan asti eko mahaguna. Kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangam param vrajat. That Kaler dosa nida rajan. This current age is full of, we have just read, full of quarrel, hypocrisy and everything. However, there is eko mahaguna. What is that eko mahaguna? Is that the process of going back home, back to God, that has been made the most easiest, most sublime by chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we also have a bargain. It's Kaler Dosa Nidha Rajan. It's full of issues. But then we also have the most easiest, sublime way of going back home, back to God. So, like Srila Prabhupada said, a gentleman makes the best bargain out of this. And that bargain is that we can simply, by just chanting the holy name of the Lord, go back to Him and start this process. So the recommended process of self-realization is hearing and chanting of the holy name. Fame and pastimes of the Lord. So does it say that hearing and chanting about gossip, about history, about geography? No, it says about hearing and the holy name, the fame and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And that starts with the process of Shravanam Kirtanam. And Shravanam starts with hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. And human life is meant for self-realization, as I said. Current modern so-called civilization has completely forgotten the aim of life. That's why we're going for Harinam today. We're going book distribution every day. Why? Because they have forgotten. Because they're not being taught this science in schools and colleges. No one even knows the concept of the soul. So, Srila Prabhupada says, self-gratification has taken over from self-realization. So today's society, in the so-called sense gratification, is so entangled that it has now taken predominance over self-realization, when it should be the opposite, yes? We should be on the path of self-realization, but we're on the path of self-gratification. Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all our questions because it carries the message of Lord Sri Krishna. And it is compared to be the ship. And Srila Prabhupada is its captain. So which ship do you want to be on? The ship that is going to sink or the ship that is going to take you to the transcendental abode? So, in Srimad Bhagavatam, also Canto 1, Chapter 2, Shloka 5, there is Munaya sadhu pastu aham bhavad beloka mangalam yad krita Krishna samprasno yenatma suprasiddhati. O sages, I have been justly. Now this is Sutta Goswami, based on the questions that have been raised, says, justly questioned by you because your questions are worthy. Why are they worthy? Because they relate to who? To Lord Shri Krishna. And are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So, I was listening to Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying that we are so much about friendship in this material world. We are so much about friendship that, oh, I can rely on so and so, I have a friend and this. But we are incapable friends. We have limitations. How many times are we approached, especially in my case, as a friend, to do something and I'm incapable? But then Srila Prabhupada says, you should seek the friendship of the Supreme Lord because He's unlimited. He can take care of everything. You just see Hiranyakashipu there. He wanted to be immortal. He took his intelligence and he thought that whatever he does, he cannot be killed. But look at Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu, what did he do? To safeguard the promise of Lord Brahma, he kept everything intact. Now this is true friendship. Because here are the demigods who are under suffering. They come to who? They come to the Lord for help. Because they rely, the relationship is with the Lord for help. And here the Lord is also perplexed. I have another devotee whose words I have to keep. How do you balance all this? So true relationships are with the Lord. Because the Lord can take care of those relationships. We cannot be the people. So a true friend is a friend who guides you towards the path of devotional service. A true friend is the person who brings you to Krishna consciousness. That's what Srila Prabhupada is telling. If you're a true friend, if you have a true relationship, I saw the Prabhu yesterday brought a Mataji and he was sitting with her in Prabhupada's garden and he was explaining the science of Krishna. That is true friendship. That is true friendship. That's true relationship. I know I'm going to start going above time, so I'm going to try and wind up very, very fast. But then Srila Prabhupada says the whole world is full of questions and answers from the birds singing in the morning. They're all asking questions and answers. There is no satisfaction. Why? Because satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Lord Krishna. Very powerful. Srila Prabhupada's purports are real revelations to us. Every word is teaching us devotional service, is shaking the status quo. There is more to say, but the gates are closing, means it's time to wind up. But in essence, we are practicing devotional service, and that is the most important benediction and the right path that we as human beings should follow. Any questions, any comments? Srimad Bhagavatam ki